Now, the transparency side of things here is not just transparency of, the visibility of the people doing the work, but transparency of the gains as well, transparency of the productivity of this. And it all kind of ties into each other. We look a little bit more into engagement then, right? So what does that actually impact, right? Once we've kind of looked at how they've been empowered, are they making things transparent? Are people engaged? Well, we know that staff perceive their home environments as much happier places than their work environments, but they feel under pressure. The 30% report an increase in their hours was working from home. You can see a pattern forming here, right? This is a different area of the same kind of feedback. They're working the same number of hours that they did before, but it's to a different pattern. 30% report the changes allow them to pursue their hobbies and interests. That's a positive. 55% use their lunch break to focus on their personal life rather than just catching up on emails. As a result, 56% report an increase in their overall happiness when they work from home. So although there's this kind of dichotomy where we've got a lot of people who are working from home and are finding it difficult because they're they're trying to be overproductive, they're trying to be overcommitted, there actually is a big benefit to working from home because they can find balance. But also, as I said, there's this pressure here, right? We're actually an employee at these companies feel they need to communicate more to demonstrate the value of 48%. So you'll find people adding themselves to meetings just to be heard rather than adding value. 36%, it was harder to make an impact when working remotely because it depends on the culture of the environment that you need to be visible. People worry out of sight means out of mind when it comes to promotions. And actually there's a whole heap of data currently sort of coming up that even Chancellor Rishi was sort of talking about the other day, is that people who are younger and joining the workforce, if you're joining a remote workforce, you may find it harder to be visible and to demonstrate your worth as well. Now, this can split, people's kind of opinions on this, definitely. And I think this is the important thing, is that how can you leverage this new normal to do that? Right? There are different ways to do it, and we'll have a look at what you guys think shortly. However, still, with all of this, even with all of this, 9 out of 10 office workers would like to work from home, even after physically distancing measures are lifted. This is from Forbes. Now, this is showing that even though there's all these kind of worries and concerns, people are sort of settling into this new normal quite well. There's a new pattern here. I don't have to spend 2 hours commuting every day, spend time with the family every day. It seems like everything's working. I've got my setup, everything's working well. But we need to be leveraging the technology, leveraging and coaching these employees, these teams, to make sure that they're not just drifting away into a lonely silo bubble and they're still making the human connections. Because even after this happens and these organizations are still aboard, it's really important that we do that. Finally, the connections. Now, connections, I don't mean like internet connections, although that's always helpful. 60% report that they're feeling less connected to their teams and colleagues because of this. Although they're being hyper-productive and hyper-visible, they're not making these valuable connections and valuable discussions. Actually, only 29% have introduced additional resources to support the employer's physical and mental well-being. So although we've forced everybody to work from home, we're not really giving them the support they may need for these things, either be it with technology or connections to the internet, etc. But actually, like their mental well-being, like have they got access to talking to a supervisor or to talking to a coach or a counselor if they have? And some organizations do this amazingly well, and others don't. It's not on their agenda. So this is like a big accident waiting to happen. There's going to be a big snowball of people who are feeling neglected, who are feeling lonely, who are not able to connect to the work. So it's important to keep an eye on that for sure. 37% of workers, technology is a barrier to productivity, and employers have to do more to help. We're saying here that employers have to step up, because actually they're now being forced to work from home, but their kit is 10 years old, the connection is so poor, it's really hard. And actually 83% of office workers don't think their employers are meeting their state-of-the-art technology needs. Because actually we're not saying that, we can't be doing all this crazy, amazing work on antiquated systems and antiquated technology. Our expectation is that everything works like an iPhone, that everything works just as you need it. And actually, if we're not getting that new technology, that new investment, then how are we expect it to be as good as we are? If you take an hour to spin your machine up in the morning just to get started, it's a lot of wasted time that you feel like you might have to make up. Otherwise, you feel like, well, why is people looking at me saying I've only started at 10 when I've been waiting for my machine since 9? So it's an important thing to consider. And of course, this all links into trust. And a big study from Harvard Business Review came back that basically trust is made up of two main areas. It's based on two main areas: competence and interaction. So competence being like, can you do the job? Have you got the skills to do the job that you're trying to do? And interactional being like, well, do I know you? Can I see the work? Can I be, is it more predictable, the work that you're doing? Is it easy to trust you to do that? And a loss of information in either of those two areas erodes trust massively. So if I don't see you doing the work, it's really hard to gain trust. And if I don't understand your competence, then it can erode trust. And of course, that can erode my connection with you and the work that we're doing. So this is one of the reasons, this is almost one of the kind of underlying problems that help diagnose this, is that the competency lack and the lack of interaction is why people are maintaining themselves to be more visible than they need to be, attending every meeting, being in everything, because working from home, I have to be visible to be adding value. And it's a misnomer, you know, because one of the big things that happens is organizations start putting more monitoring and more time management systems on top just to keep track of all this data. And we all know that doesn't work, right? Because it's not accurate and it's all gamified and it's focusing on the wrong thing. It's focusing on output over outcome. You know, humans are not elements on a production line punching out widgets. We're doing a lot of creative knowledge work that needs space to do that. And we need to have the empowerment and trust to be able to do that as well. And if we don't have that, then it can create a huge disconnect with the work that we're doing. Hopefully that kind of makes sense of it as well. So